Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Lumber Snack, and today we're talking about God and gravity, the correlation. And I've got the gravity variance map up so that you can see kind of like what I'm talking about. But basically, what I've kind of been looking at and what I've kind of been studying and what I can kind of rationalize with right now is that I think there's a very direct correlation to how like God or whatever energetic frequencies interact with people, depending on if it's an excessively low gravity area versus an excessively high gravity area. Two places that I would like to point out most specifically is right around here or wherever. Obviously, the map is going to be procedured in later in editing, so I can't see. You can see it, but I can't see it, which is fine. Which is fine. But anyway, right here in this, what I can only imagine as India, Hindustan. There's like a very like deep pocket of like dark blue, like very recessed into the ground. And when you see stuff like that, to me, it makes me think that you're gonna have more like natural earthy energies, I guess, coming from like the center of the earth, maybe a higher electromagnetic effect. I don't really know. But in this specific area, you have that very deep recessed blue spot, and then you got right near it, you got the super high gravity area that is Mount Everest. And in that little dark blue spot is where Siddhartha Gautama, if I pronounce his name right, the Buddha, that's where he was born, and that's where he was enlightened to be the Buddha, was in that very, very deep, recessed blue, low gravity variance area, which is directly next to a very, very, very high gravity area, like Mount Everest. And then, it's just kind of like noticing things. I can't really explain it further than that. There's a lot of ways that like gravitational energies and electromagnetism can affect stuff between a mycelium layer that covers about a third of the entire surface of the earth, which mushrooms are inherently electromagnetic, I believe. The fact that humans exhibit electromagnetism and the earth exhibits electromagnetism and all these living plants are kind of like interacting with each other and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's an empirical or an exact science, but I think people would be foolish to say that there's absolutely no correlation, especially when you move just a touch west and you hit Ur of the Chaldees. And in that area, I believe, is a very dark blue area where that Ur Sumerian, first popped up. And then when Terah and Abraham and their group left, they fought. And I know it's a mountainous area, so it naturally makes sense to follow the mountains. That's not what I'm getting at. But they follow pretty much the exact kind of like high gravity path all the way out to Haran. And then at a certain point, Abraham takes a little detour down into Canaan and keeps walking as he gets less and less powerful gravity. I don't know. And then he gets into much lower gravity and they get taken by Egypt. But I have a lot of strong opinions about some of the main people in the Old Testament. Like when Joseph was literally sold into slavery by his brothers because they hated him so much. And then he got put into like Egypt and was like made a very trusted advisor to the Pharaoh. And it was through, the Jacobites' own hatred for their brother that allowed them, some kind of safe passage into Egypt after their famines in Canaan, until Joseph died and the Pharaoh died. And they had a Pharaoh that didn't know of Joseph or Joseph anyhow, and they got enslaved, which I think is karmic retribution for the ways y'all treated Joseph, is what I think. But yeah, it's just another example where you get like that super low gravitational area that is where Terah and Abraham were when they were told that they needed to leave, and Terah continued being a polytheist, which Abraham was not a polytheist, and that's why they separated. And then the whole Exodus thing and the Israelites, their golden calf and whatever, and it's always some variation of like cows and like bronzish, goldenish colors. It's weird. But then the last piece of evidence I want to project, and this is a wild one, is what's kind of the difference between the low gravitational areas and the higher gravitational areas. Because over in Peru, which is one of the highest gravitational, variant areas, because of how mountainous it is, we see a society and a civilization using very primitive tools, very old school things, and they're able to craft and maneuver rocks and shave them and get them so perfectly precise to build their terrace farms that even scientists and like anthropologists and historians today look at those, those cuts that they made to build their walls and to build their, entire farming structure in the mountains. No one knows how it was done. They've tried using the tools of what they could make in that area, and they're straight up not strong enough to break that rock. And it makes me wonder, I'm not saying it's an empirical fact, because I don't believe in exact sciences. There's always standard deviation. Probably. But I kind of think in those really high gravity areas, if you can like increase the gravitational variance, I think it gave them magic powers. I do. I think it gave them magic powers to augment and alter the form of the rocks. I don't think there's any other explanation. I really don't. It's just, they found like, I think Snopes has to check it out first. I just saw it random, but like there's a random piece of like basalt that they found in Lake Titicaca, which is like, right next to Machu Picchu and all that. And it literally just has the top part of it. It was melted and folded over and then re-hardened. And like, I don't know if there's any validity to, higher gravitational areas being able to increase actual like magic prowess, I think we need to be teaching that to the Irish and the Icelanders. Yeah. I think we need to be reintroducing that to the Hawaiians and the Polynesians, because they all have very high levels of gravity. Why can't we have Alaskan wizards, huh? Look at the gravity over there. I don't know. Has anyone made this correlation? Probably not. I don't have a degree. I'm just a weird little lumber guy that believes in magic, and that there is one God above all that created everything, and that should not be confused. And that one God that is above all should not have anything that is compared to it, because those things can only exist through the ultimate power of that one God. And through the ultimate power of that one God, I truly believe that all is possible. Or at least most, kind of. Well, maybe not all is possible, but like definitely more than what we would typically give ourselves credit as just standard human beings. I think if you actually had the full power and breadth of the one true God behind your belt, as Moses did, as Yeshua did, as Muhammad did, These are things I believe. But like, gosh, I think there's really a magic thing in like high gravitational areas. So like there's a few different like veins of like magic. Like a lot of like Middle Eastern magic, Arabic, like the Picatrix, and like everything, especially in Chaldea, Babylon, was all about like building talismans with meaningful insignias on it, and you would have to pay attention to the location of the moon, as well as all the planets in the solar system. You have to pay attention to all that, because the moon in different mansions has a different, effect for the talisman that you're going to put forth. You're going to want different alignments for different spell casting. I don't cast spells like that. That's not my forte. I have been told that I am not allowed to cast that kind of magic. If anyone wants to, be my guest, prove me wrong. I don't care. But like, if you ever read the book Huna, or like anything about Huna written by Max Freedom Long, yeah, that is his name. Born in freaking Sterling, Colorado, man. He moved out to Hawaii to study magic because he had heard legends of the Hawaiians' extreme magical capabilities, from like healing to everything, because allegedly they had a myth or a story that like they're descended from a legendary queen in Ethiopia or something, who was either Ethiopia or Kenya, who was super magic, and they were all part of like the general like Chaldean, Sumerian, the original peoples, is what I believe the myth that I had read was entailed. But like, if say Hawaiians are magic, say Polynesians are magic, they have a higher level of gravity, right? Same with like Ireland, England, and Iceland. They got a bunch of like fairies and stuff over there, man. You're gonna deny that? I wouldn't deny that. But those only exist because of the one true God. It's just thought. Maybe, gravity and God have like a correlating point. Maybe, it is a mix of like the low to high gravity frequencies that inspired, the Buddha, Abraham. Maybe the high gravity areas of Peru and Hawaii, let them use their magic. You don't know. You'll only tell me I'm wrong, but you won't prove it, because in order to prove magic wrong, you have to prove magic right. Is what I think. Otherwise, I can just say that people aren't good enough at casting magic. It's such a backwards argument. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Have a great day.